Okay, all right. So hopefully you guys, most everybody was here for last week or has caught up. If not, I'm going to try and catch up here a little bit. So this is a continuation from Where Be All His Miracles, right? We did this last week, and this is going to be called Signs of the Spirit. Okay. This also here, what you're going to see is, remember we talked about Vlad. He caused me to do this study because of a question he asked 2 years ago. Well, I had another promise to Vlad that he may or may not remember, but the other promise was that I would write this stuff down in some form. So here we go. We're going to give this a try and we'll see how this works. Okay. So I think we're good, right, Vlad? All right.
You did well.
Okay. Thank you.
Vlad never forgets.
That was good. That sounded like Katie. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Signs of the Spirit. Here we go. Okay. Recap last week. Where be all his miracles? All right. We're just going to recap the important stuff. So who did the miracles? All right. We had God, the angels, Jesus, and human beings. Okay. 4 kind of categories there. Okay. We had 6 that I went over in the old and 6 that I went over in the new. In the old, it was Aaron and Moses, Joshua and Samson, and Elijah and Elisha. And we noticed that they kind of were in groups of 2. All right. And then New Testament was Peter and John, Stephen, Philip, and Ananias and Paul. They kind of go together. Okay. So remember, we talked about that document last week as kind of a living rough draft, right? We would add to it. Okay. And so after we're done, or at some point, Roger mentioned, well, what about Zacharias? And I thought, yeah, what about Zacharias? That's pretty good. And I'm like, well, that kind of shoots my 2 people that kind of group together. It kind of shoots that holes in that theory, or at least my findings. And then I thought about it more. I'm like, well, you know what? If he had a buddy, this would really work out. And you know what? He does. And his buddy is Elizabeth. Okay. So we're going to add 2 people to this list tonight. So we have Elizabeth and Zacharias, and it's in that order. She is the first one that prophesies, and that miracle happens to her. And then Zacharias, remember, he was mute and he wasn't able to speak for 9 months until John was born. And he had to, he had to write with a pen and said his name is John. And then all of a sudden his, mouth was loosed and he prophesied and he was filled with the Holy Spirit. And these 2 definitely fit on this list because it's the same thing that happens with the 120 people at Pentecost. And the way it's written, they fit in here real nice. Another cool thing. So now we're going to look over here. So Deuteronomy 19:15. All right. There's a little reference here. One witness. This is to put this in perspective here. So this is in the law. All right. And this is about if somebody commits a sin. All right. Let's say somebody robs a bank, somebody steals your lawnmower. All right. And your neighbor, says, hey, Bobby stole my lawnmower. All right. And nobody else saw him and he's just accusing him of stealing a lawnmower. That's not going to work according to the law. Okay. So you need 2 people. So you need the other neighbor. You need Karen. Karen's over there and Karen saw it too. And now Karen and the guy whose lawnmower was stolen both say, yeah, Bobby stole the lawnmower. And now we have 2 witnesses. And now that guy can be convicted of stealing a lawnmower and he has to give it back or get him a new one. Okay. Anyway, point is that this is just real interesting when you start to look at the witnessing of these 2, Aaron and Moses, Joshua, Samson. Remember, Joshua was the first leader coming out of the wilderness, and Samson is the last of the judges before it goes into the kings. Okay. Elijah and Elisha, the mantle was passed from Elijah to Elisha. Okay. Obviously, Peter and John, Stephen and Philip were 2 of those 7, and Ananias unblinded Paul. And these guys fit in here real nice. And I just wanted to note, you see this where this says at the mouth of, okay, I'll read this. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin, in any sin that he sinneth. At the mouth of two witnesses or at the mouth of three witnesses shall the matter be established. And when you go look at Luke 1, it's just real interesting how Mary kind of fits right in here. She almost could be a third to this group. I'm just not putting her on here because of the way it's worded. And once I saw that, I realized, hey, the first two that were involved in miracles in the New Testament or in the Old Testament were Aaron and Moses, and Miriam was there with them. And not only that, but Mary and Miriam are the same name. It's just different languages. So they are the same. So you got Aaron, Moses, and Miriam as the first 2 to 3 here. Although she had a miracle done to her. She was turned leprous at one point. But then you have these two and almost Mary in here also. So I'll just let that go for now, but it's just pretty cool. Then when you also think about it, in Luke 10, right, you have after these things, the Lord appointed other 70 also and sent them 2 and 2 before his face into every city and place whither he himself would come. Another reference here to these witnesses, of course, Revelation, right? I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, 60 days clothed in sackcloth. Okay. Anyway, there's just a lot of interesting stuff when you look at that. All right. And we also noticed there were several groups, right? Priests bearing the ark, these 7 priests, then all the people, 70 that went for 2 by 2, 12 apostles, 120 at Pentecost, 2 witnesses, 7 thunders. So you got 70, 7, 12, and 2s all in here. And there's a lot more to it, but we'll keep going. Just as a recap refresh here. And of course, on the negative side, Satan, who is the false Jesus, the false Christ, he of course can perform miracles. Pharaoh's magicians did, false prophets will, and these spirits of devils, they work miracles. And, realize that, these guys are supernatural. Okay. These spirits of devils and Satan, these are supernatural angels. Okay. All right. So what was done? We have to go see the list, right? 180 plus miracles. Oh, that's crazy. Anyway, so if anybody hasn't seen that, you would want to go look at that. Walter's got it on the website, I believe. Okay. So what was done was supernatural events. All right. Things that you just don't see every day. And we kind of noticed that there were 2 main categories. Everyone seemed to kind of fit into either a blessing, freedom, salvation, and life, or it was a curse, bondage, destruction, and or death. So those are kind of the main categories. And also noted that oftentimes that same miracle was creating a blessing on one side and a curse for the other. I think I mentioned parting the Red Sea. You could see it in a lot of them. A lot of those miracles had one on one side, one on the other. Okay. I will just note where I didn't really talk about this. Sometimes some of these miracles, you go back and look at that list. Yeah, some of the places where they happen are very important. Okay. And we can't get into all of that, but you can go look and, things that are done in Jerusalem or in the temple or, things like that become very important. But I will say that as opposed to where, like in regards to who saw the miracles, when you really look, there's a lot where nobody but hardly anybody saw them. And so examples, the burning bush, just Moses. Okay. Nobody else. Gideon's fleece, it was Gideon. Okay. And the transfiguration of Christ, right? We have Peter, James, and John, 3 witnesses there. Okay. Remember 2 or 3 witnesses, right? So those 3 were there. But my point is that as you go through these, it doesn't look like God is overly concerned with the whole planet having seen these miracles, okay? And obviously he isn't, because that's how they were done. So just something to note. When do they occur? In relatively short spans of time, right? Many clusters of miracles where many clusters appeared, okay? And they were at a time of deliverance and salvation, okay? And then also there were a few scattered here and there. And right, many of those involve deliverance and salvation. And like a couple of good examples would be Daniel in the lion's den, okay, the three Hebrew children in the fiery furnace. Those are kind of by themselves, but they have the same theme going. Noah's flood, right? Sodom, Lot being pulled out of Sodom, okay? And then we noted there were very long time spans where there are no recorded miracles in the Bible. 1,000 years pass, no miracle. 983 years pass, 669, and so on, okay? And currently we're at 129 years without recorded miracles. Obviously, God is doing miracles in that time, all these time periods. That's obvious, but they're not recorded, okay? And the next cluster is due up at the tribulation, all right? So why were these things done? All right. Well, to witness that Yahweh is God and he's real, right? And to authenticate his word that it's true, right? They also show us God is in complete control of his creation. Another good point. And don't forget, these miracles are literally bringing his word to pass, all right? If the, Bible didn't come through the Red Sea, we did nothing's happening here today. So all of these things lead to another, and they're all very important. Elizabeth, Zechariah, these guys prophesying, very important. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move on. New material here. Okay. That was a recap. All right. So how did God accomplish miracles? We didn't really get into this. All right. And so now we got, right, signs of the Spirit. How did God accomplish miracles? So you guys, if you want to turn to these pages, you can. I've got it up here. I don't know if this will be quicker, slower, whatever. But again, everybody's going to be able to have this when we're done. We'll get Walter to put it on the website. Or I can send it out or whatever, okay? All right, how did God accomplish these miracles? Genesis 1, okay? The first miracle, if you remember on the sheet. Let's go through this, all right? Genesis 1, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, okay? And the earth was or became without form and void. Darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, okay? And God said, let there be light, and there was light. Okay, you're going to see a theme throughout all these miracles that God's Spirit is responsible for all these things, okay? Little note here, and God said, all right, and this gets repeated in that Genesis 1 over and over a couple times, several times, right? And John 6:63 for reference here. I'm going to read it. It is the Spirit that quickeneth, that makes alive, okay? The flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. Okay? Just think about that. Think about God speaking. Okay? Think about Christ speaking. Okay? We're looking at the written word here. Well, everything they spoke was the word too. Okay? And God can speak and make nothing everything. Okay? That's something we can't do. Anything we want to make or create, you got to start with something. You can't just pull something out of nothing. Maybe ideas, perhaps, maybe not. I don't know, but anything physical, we got to start with something. And God doesn't have to. Okay, He created all of it. Okay, Judges 14. This is going to be miracle number 49 on your Old Testament list of miracles. Again, that could change. It's not important, but if you want to find it, okay, this is Samson. Then went Samson down and his father and his mother to Timnath and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. Okay. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rented a kid. He tore this lion to shreds, all right? And he had nothing in his hand. He barehanded Samson just killed this lion, all right? But he told not his father or his mother what he had done, okay? Spirit of the Lord, okay, this is one of the miracles. How did Samson do it? Right there, okay? Samson's not doing this. It's the Spirit of the Lord. It's God's Spirit. One more example, Acts 2, all right? This is going to be number 49 on your New Testament list for the moment. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each one of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak with other tongues, and this as the Spirit gave them utterance. Okay, these are just three examples, and that's all I'm going to give. They're all there. There's a lot of them, but we're going to keep moving. But these are just little, the stuff in green here, these little kind of notes at the end. You accomplished all these miracles with the Spirit. Okay. And all those miracles done by humans were done by God through his Spirit. Okay. And this includes Jesus. All right. Here's the reference, John 14. Let's read this one. Believest thou not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Okay? God's Spirit doing the works. Another reference, Acts 22:22. This is right after this happened here with the tongues on Pentecost. Okay? You men of Israel, hear these words. Jesus of Nazareth, a man approved of God among you by miracles and wonders and signs, which God did by him. Who did it? God did. How did he do it? Right? With his Spirit dwelling in him. Okay? In the midst of you, as ye yourselves also know. Okay? So, flesh people are being worked through God's Spirit. And on the evil side, okay, these angels are supernatural. They can do their own stuff, all right? Those angels that the angel coming to Zechariah, he made him dumb on the spot, and they're supernatural. They can do things. And think about those angels that blinded everybody in Sodom coming for the door for Lot. Okay, they're supernatural. And then when you go back to the spirits of devils and false prophets, you're going to have flesh false prophets. Okay, well, how are they doing the miracles? Spirits of devils and this guy. Okay, that's how that operates. God is not performing the miracles through Satan. Okay, that's on his own. All right. Okay, now we're going to look at the result here of the miracles. All right. So the result for the majority of people that witnessed the miracles. All right. Exodus 4. All right. And Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel. And Aaron spake all the words which the Lord had spoken unto Moses, and did the signs in the sight of the people. Now, what signs are these? This was, number 11 and 12 from the miracle list. Okay. So this is Moses' rod changed into a serpent, and his hand made lepers. So this is when Moses said, hey, how am I going to go to the people? They're not going to believe me. And God performed these two miracles and showed Moses, hey, this is how this is going to work. Okay. And so these are the signs that he did in front of the people at this point in time. All right. In Exodus 4, before they left Egypt. Okay. 31, and the people believed. All right. And when they heard that the Lord had visited the children of Israel and that he had looked upon their affliction, then they bowed their heads and worshiped. Okay. It's all looking pretty good here. All right. They're about to leave Egypt. They're like, we're with you, Moses. This is wild. Nobody's doing this. It has to be God. Okay. All right. Let's go now to Numbers 14. Let's see what happens. Numbers 14 in time actually is not very long from them leaving Egypt and getting into the wilderness. It's only like a year or two. Okay. Numbers 14:22. All right. Because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice, here, what's going to happen? Surely they shall not see the land which I swore unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it. Okay, these were all the people that believed, guys. All right. 24, but my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and hath followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereunto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Okay, Caleb, Joshua, and all the children under the age of 20, because they were innocent, made it into the promised land. Everybody else, and according to my count, that's at least 2 million people. Okay, I'm not going to get into the count now, but we're talking about 2 million people that died without making it to the promised land. And if you want to fast forward that to today and the New Testament, we're talking about those are the people that ain't going to make it, at least into the millennium, all right, into that kingdom. So that's the parallel for that one. And I just noted here, there's a cool note from Bullinger on page 200, okay, where he says they have tempted me these 10 times. Very good note there, and you can do a whole study on that. And I just thought I would note that. All right, let's look New Testament, all right? What's the result here? John 2, all right? John 22:23 reads, now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover, in the feast day, many believed in his name. Why? When they saw the miracles which he did. Okay, the miracles got them to believe. Okay, John 12, 3 years pass by here, okay? John 12, starting out 6 days before the Passover, guys, okay? And that's the final Passover, all right, where Christ is going to be crucified. So this John 2 is at the beginning. This is right after he turned the water into wine, all right? Many believed. He had people believing him, and we get 3 years pass by, and we got a lot of people not believing. And I just put a little note here of the 120 again, because when you get to Acts 1, how many people are there? It says about 120 people. Okay, so after Christ himself walking the earth for 3 years, showing all these people signs and wonders and miracles, we have a whole list of them, right? We wind up with 120 that were so strong that they were there when he resurrected, okay? And we're in Jerusalem 50 days later. Okay, so point is, the result of these miracles for most is just does not last. Doesn't last. It's a wow. It kind of reminds me of the seed falling, immediately, on someone, and immediately they receive it, and then it endures for a while, and then boom, it starts to go away. Okay. There's kind of a parallel going on there with this. Okay. So there's just no real lasting faith to muster the self-discipline that's kind of needed to follow. Okay. Non-believers with no faith, they're not going to get the Spirit. They're not going to get it, and they're not going to get the rewards that come with it. All right. I'm even going to do a little note here. Okay. So we had Old Testament, New Testament example. Let's even look at Thomas, because he kind of misses out on something because of clearly a kind of a lack of faith. All right. And again, think about this. This in John 20 here. All right. This is after the resurrection. Thomas spent 3 years with Christ also, seeing these things, how he could doubt, I don't know, but he certainly had doubt. And let's read it. John 20:19. Then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Jesus and stood in the midst and saith unto them, peace be unto you. Which, by the way, that's probably another miracle that we need to add to the list. So there's another one. Peace be unto you. 20. And when he had so said, he showed unto them his hands and his side. Then were the disciples glad when they saw the Lord. 21. Then said Jesus to them again, Peace be unto you. As my Father hath sent me, even so I send you. All right, he's appearing to the disciples. And when he had said this, he breathed on them and saith unto them, Receive ye the Holy Spirit. Okay? Whosoever sins ye remit, they are remitted unto them. And whosoever sins ye retain, they are retained. Okay? He's giving another measure of spirit out to this group. Okay? Another ounce, let's say. Okay? If you want to think of volume. 24. But, this is big but here, but Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Jesus came. Doubting Thomas. Everybody's heard this. We all know this is where it came from. Of course, Judas was gone. So what does that leave? That leaves 10. Okay, so there were 10. And most likely, probably others that were close, but the 10 main disciples. But Thomas not there. You think it just was accident that he wasn't there? No, it's not an accident. Okay, he did not receive this. He missed out on this. Okay. 25. The other disciples therefore said unto him, We have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, again, after 3 years, except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. Okay, now I'll just stop there. You can go read the rest. He changes his mind real quick, all right? When Christ lets him put his finger in his side and all this stuff, okay? And he's finally there. And yes, of course, he was with, I would guarantee he was with that 120 at this point. But again, this was earlier, okay? And then this came. So just something to note, all right? It's serious, like when you really kind of come down to it, okay? All right, so now that we had the results for most and results for Christians, right? Christians are, minority on the planet. About 1/3 of the planet are Christians. That means 2/3 of this planet are not Christians. Okay. All right. Well, 1 Corinthians 12. All right. Oh, wait. You know what? Should we pause? Anybody have, maybe this is a good time. Any
Yes.
questions? Okay. Connie.
I would just like to request that you not drive us buggy with your little pointer there.
Thank you, Connie. Okay, I was wondering about it, so I'll let that go.
I'm halfway teasing you though. I can really handle it, but
Yeah.
it was just noticeable. So.
Yeah, I don't want to impede, so I'm trying to kind of keep it to the side. But some of these things I'm going to underline, so I gotcha. Noted.
I feel that it's reflecting your high-strung personality, so.
Thank you, Connie. Appreciate that. This is good. Any real questions?
Hey, Emil.
Yes.
Just real quick. This is just more of a point of clarification. You just said, no doubt he was with the 120. Do you mean that? Were you talking about Christ or Thomas or?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No. So, I think I just missed it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So sorry. I probably wasn't clear. It's hard to get all this stuff in. So yes, Thomas would be with the 120 when this thing got kicked off, but this was prior to that. Okay. So, and then you see, and again, that's why it's written. If we went on and read the rest of this here, he changes his mind, but that's what it took. I mean, it took a lot to get this guy on board. All right.
But your point of saying that was that, Thomas was along for the whole ride and he was part of the 120. He was part of watching Jesus perform miracles while he was here. And then Christ died. He, to your point, wasn't there when all the other disciples saw him. There's a reason he wasn't there hanging out with that group. And he still
exactly. Sorry. It was I think it was 8 days later. So that's when he shows up there.
Okay.
where Thomas is there. But
Okay.
yeah, Pat, that's my point. It's exactly this guy. So when we're feeling like, maybe some doubts and things like that, look at this guy. I mean, he's in here for an example. I mean, this is why he's there. Okay. So we're not getting down on Thomas. He's there for our benefit. Okay. Um, for some people, it takes a lot. There's a lot of personalities, and I would think that the next chapter after John 20 is 21, and my guess is that there's probably 153 different types of Christians that we have to account for. That's probably what's alluded to with that catching of the fish in the next chapter. So a lot of different personalities within Christianity. Okay, we don't all have to be robots of each other. We have our own gifts, and we're going to pretty cool because we're going to get into that right now. So
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. And by the way, it's really helpful that you have all the verses laid out on the screen like the way you do in this order. It's awesome. Thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, anyone else? Yeah, anyone else quick with something? Okay, thank you, Connie, by the way. I'm serious. I was thinking about it. So
Well, it's no problem. You got it really well laid out. It looks very nice.
Thank you. Okay, I'll try with the pointer, and I'm gonna take a drink. Because my mouth is dry.
So Emil,
Okay, Roger.
you mentioned the 120. So
Can you guys wait? Can you guys hear Roger? Okay, speak up.
Okay, so
No.
in Acts chapter 1,
Yes.
it mentions Thomas as one of the 11, when they chose that 12th. So after those 8 days, he must, so it was like an 8-day penalty, huh?
Thank you.
Kind of.
Thank you. You guys hear that? So exactly what I was getting at is Thomas was there when he was spoken through with the Holy Spirit, but he missed out on this other additional measurement of spirit. And we're going to get into this spirit and kind of the measurement of it in a minute here. But yeah, so if you follow that in time, that time is correct. So he was there. Yep. So cool. Okay. All right. I think we'll keep going. All right. All right. Result for Christians. 1 Corinthians 12. All right. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, this is Paul speaking. All right. I would not have you ignorant. Okay. He wants you to understand. All right. 2, ye know that you were Gentiles. That's ethnos, just of note in the Greek. And so think about, in Corinthians here, who is Paul addressing? Okay. This is not the Hebrews. This is not the book of Hebrews. All right. This is very different address. And there are lots of problems. I always like to think about this when I'm in Corinthians. There are lots of problems in this church, tons of them. Okay. And we'll go through that at some other point. But you have to kind of keep that in mind when you're reading these things. He's speaking differently to this church than he does to when he's addressing the Hebrews. Okay. Okay. You know that you were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led. Okay. Right. And Gentiles, right. They didn't, this was a whole new opportunity and a new thing to them. They didn't know what the children of Israel were told, in the wilderness 1,500 years before Christ came. Okay. So this is new to these guys. Wherefore I give you to understand that no man speaking by the Spirit of God calleth Jesus accursed, and that no man can say that Jesus is the Lord but by the Holy Spirit. Okay. Now there are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are differences of administrations or offices, okay, but the same Lord. And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same God which worketh all in all. Okay, do you see the 3, Father, the Son, and the Spirit in these verses? Okay, all right in there. Paul's dropping those right there. Okay. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. Okay. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, Okay, these are spiritual gifts. All right. To another, the word of knowledge by the same Spirit. To another, faith by the same Spirit. To another, the gifts of healing by the same Spirit. Now I'm going to read through all these gifts and then we're going to come back, okay? To another, the working of miracles. To another, prophecy. To another, discerning of spirits. To another, different kinds of tongues. That's different kinds of languages. Okay, speaking different languages, Spanish, French. To another, the interpretation of those languages. Okay, and why is that? Well, because back in the day, in order for the whole world to get this message, we got, there are some like 7,000 different languages on this planet if you start to include all the dialects. So that's a lot. And you're going to need more than just, Greeks or Hebrews or Galileans speaking the word. Okay. Okay, let's come back up here for a second. Okay, so now note these gifts, all right? This is not, you get one and you're done, and someone else gets the other and they're done. That's not what Paul's saying here. How do we know that? Well, it's real simple. Besides common sense, okay? This is the one that clues everybody in here, okay? Faith, everybody has to have faith. All right. Otherwise, you're not getting in. Okay. So that means everybody has faith. So what is Paul saying here? He's saying that the gift of faith to somebody is evidence of somebody with very strong faith. And you can see that. Okay. There's people in our group here that have some very strong faith, and you can see it. Okay. Maybe less knowledge. Okay. But very strong faith, something like that, for example. Okay. It's a gift, right? Knowledge, wisdom, everybody has some of this stuff, but the strengths of these gifts is what Paul's getting at, okay? And point being, the same Spirit. There's one Spirit gives all these gifts. Same Spirit does all the miracles, does all the gifts, all right? Okay, so to another, working of miracles. All right, so now, we talked about all these miracles last week, and why we don't see parting of the Red Sea, why we don't see people walking on water, stuff like this. Well, what's being talked about here is Christ leaving his Christians with this. This doesn't stop. So for the last 2,000 years, we should be able to see people with these gifts. Okay. They're not recorded miracles, but people are working miracles, okay? Now, calling out this word here, okay? Because sometimes you got to do that. And we're going to do this not because I don't want to change the word. I'm not doing that, but we need to understand it better, okay? So in the Greek, this word is dunamis, okay? Dunamis. All right? It means force. So the original word is 1410 in your Strongs, and this means force, literally or figuratively force, especially miraculous power. Okay. It's a little different than miracles. It's miraculous power, okay, and force. Usually by implication, a miracle itself, okay. Ability, abundance, meaning might, mightily, okay, worker of miracles. And then this just starts to list power, strength, violence, mighty, wonderful work. Okay, basically it's listing all the words that are translated from dunamis. Okay, so this word is 120 times, okay, in the New Testament. All right, and I just want to show you. So this word is used for power 77 times. Okay, so that's a lot. The rest is a lot less than that. So when I see that, at least I'll tell you how I look at this stuff. Okay, when I see that, I think, well, pretty strong indication that word certainly means, it means power, and it's going to mean these others too. But keep that power in mind. All right. So now we're going to do a couple examples here on the side before we go any further. Okay, well, let's see how this word is used. Matthew 6:13, okay? You all know the Lord's Prayer, okay? And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power. That's dunamis. Okay? And the glory forever. Amen. You know, I like when I am studying, I like to take the word that's here, throw it in here and see how it flies. Okay? And lead us not to deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom and the miracles and the glory. It just doesn't quite work for me. Okay? So I keep kind of doing that, you know. Revelation 5:12, worthy is the lamb that was slain to receive dunamis, okay, and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. Worthy is the lamb that was slain to receive miracles? No, but miraculous power? Yes. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, Mark 5:30, another reference. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that virtue, this is dunamis, this is the power, okay, had gone out of him. So virtue is the dunamis word, okay, translated from that same word. Had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, who touched my clothes? So he knew that this miraculous power had left him. Okay. One more, I like this one a lot. Hebrews 11:11. Okay. Through faith, also Sarah herself received dunamis, okay, to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Okay, that's God. Okay, like this one because this is one of the miracles, guys. This was one of the I forget which number at the moment, but it was up there in the beginning after Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, when the next year, and then she conceives, okay, in time, as far as time goes. So that I'm just pointing this out because sometimes, you know, if you're just reading this in English and you say to another working in mirrors, like, oh, okay, here we go. Some guy's got knowledge and someone's got faith and someone's doing healings and this other guy's walking on water. Okay, that's not what it's getting at. We're talking about somebody with miraculous power, okay? And we're going to see another word coming up soon here that's similar to this. And one of my points I want to stress is that this dunamis is not really something that you can see, okay? It's, you know, when you look at how it's used, you know, thine is the kingdom and the power, the dunamis and the glory, okay? The lamb is worthy to receive dunamis, okay? Like this one, you knew that this dunamis had gone out of him, right? That's nothing that anybody can see, okay? And so that's going to help differentiate this from the next word that's coming that is used for miracles also. So that's why I'm bringing this up. And it's good to know. Sometimes you got to look at this stuff, okay? All right, different gifts. These are all done. Okay, let's keep reading. But all these work at that one and the self same Spirit. One Spirit dividing to every man severally as he will, okay? No, let me read here and I'll go back over here. For as the body is one and hath many members, and all the members of that one body being many are one body, so also is Christ. Okay, little note up here. Okay, so in thinking about this same subject here, okay, John 3:34, for he whom God hath sent speaketh the words of God. Okay, for God giveth not the Spirit by measure unto him. Okay, what is this saying? This is speaking of Christ, and is saying that to him, okay, he's not limited in the Spirit going to him, okay? So he had free reign of that Spirit, unlike every other human being on the planet, okay? We have limits, and that's what Paul's describing here, is that we have these gifts, and someone's going to be stronger in wisdom, someone's going to be stronger in knowledge, someone's going to be stronger in faith. Maybe they have gifts of healing, and again, you can heal people with a smile. You honestly can. I mean, just make people feel better, with joy and happiness. It works. Okay, depending on what their sickness is, obviously. Okay, so anyway, there are limits for us. No limits here. I didn't put this reference, but I think it's Ephesians 4. If you guys want to write that down, you'll see, I think Paul lays out the limit, kind of little more detail on that in that chapter. I think it's 4. Okay, all right. So where are we? Did I do this? Okay, we're going to just skip down here. Skipping down from verse 12 in 1 Corinthians down to 27, all right? So if you're on the page, skip on down to 27. Now ye are the body of Christ and members in particular. And God hath set some in the church, first apostles, secondarily prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracles. Okay? Again, doesn't quite, like, it doesn't flow. Like, we've got a noun, person, a noun, prophets, a noun, teachers, noun, and then we got miracles, and just doesn't even fit in there. So again, I don't want to change the word. I'm just saying that, think of, workers, what was the one of the mighty works? Okay. It'll say people that have mighty works 11 times in the King James. Okay. Strength, might, and these miracles are, these are beyond, or not necessarily, these parting of the sea. Okay. It takes a miracle to, bring groups together. Okay. And, some people are really good at that. And I think we've all kind of witnessed that. And if it weren't for some of those people pull this group together, me, Pat, Brian, and John would probably be still sitting in John's kitchen, doing a study. And that was fun and great, but this is a lot more fun. Okay. 29, are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Okay, now this fits better. Okay, I like that better. Okay. Have all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? Okay, so again, he's saying, look, everybody's got a part in this, one body, many different people, and we need everybody, or this isn't going to happen. Okay, it takes everybody, and people shouldn't feel ashamed or embarrassed or anything of what their gift is. They should realize what that gift is and pray that that gift gets expanded and added to, kind of like the talents. Okay, in Matthew 25, right? You've got the talents. He gives the master of the house, he gives them 5 talents and says, hey, go do something with these talents. And he gives someone else 3 and someone else 1, trades the 5, he gets the other 5, he gains 10. The 3 gets 6, something like that. And then the 1, what does he do? He goes and buries it. He doesn't do anything with it. Okay. Go do something with your gift. Don't try and take someone else's gift and steal it. Work on your own. Okay. Even just do that. Okay. You'll get a lot further, and you're going to be a lot happier in your role in the body. Okay. So 31, just to finish, but covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet I show unto you a more excellent way. I'm not going to explain that. You have to go read the next chapter to understand what Paul's saying there. Okay. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. So kind of an end note, right? Believers with faith receive the Spirit, right? No faith, no Spirit. Faith, you receive the Spirit, and then you can grow. All right, this is our last section here, and then we're going to be done. Quick preview, boom. All right, that's it. Okay. All right, okay, the signs. All right, now we're going to get another word here that's translated miracle. So we'll talk about it as we get here, okay? Mark 16. All right. Afterward, he appeared unto the 11 as they sat at meat. Okay. and upbraided them with their unbelief and hardness in heart, because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen. So again, we have some unbelief, not in the way Thomas was. It was just that Mary Magdalene and some of the other people that had witnessed him had, at this point in time, had come to tell these guys, hey, we saw him, he's alive. And they weren't buying it. They weren't quite buying it. They didn't get it, okay? Okay, 15. And he said unto them, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Okay, of course, we're not preaching to snails and worms. That's stupid. It's his creation that has sense and a brain, okay, that can receive words. I wish my dog could talk, but he can't. We did have a donkey talk. That's one of the miracles. And if we see that, that'll be really cool. So it is possible because God made it happen. And I'd like to see that someday. And I'm sure my dog's going to be really upset at me and have a lot to say. And I'll be in trouble. So, okay. Anyway, 16. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. Okay. Ultimately, is you got to get to this point, okay, or you're just not going to get there. All right. 17. And these signs shall follow them that believe. Okay. This word signs in the Greek is semeion. Okay. Semeion. Right. That's how you pronounce it. Here's the Strong's for this one. All right. This word means an indication, especially ceremonially or supernaturally, miracle, sign, token, wonder. And here's the 77 times it was used. And then 50 times it was used as sign, 23 as miracle. Okay, quite a bit more than the 7 that were miracle in the dunamis word. But that's fine, okay? 23 times miracle. Okay, so again, you should, it might be helpful to know that this word is there and what it means. Okay, so I bring this up and I brought up the other one because now this is something that is visible. Okay, this is a sign, miracles that are visible or should be visible to people. But some of these things, for those without eyes to see, not necessarily going to see some of these things. Okay. All right, 17. And these signs shall follow them that, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this quick. I forgot my references. John 2:11, all right, the semeion reference. This beginning of miracles, semeion, did Jesus in Cana of Galilee and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. Okay, this is right after the water into wine again. Okay, all right. The beginning of miracles, semeion, not dunamis, not the beginning of power or miraculous power, but the beginning of miracles that they saw. And that's why that word is there, okay? Mark 6:5, and he could do there no mighty work. Semeion, same word, different English, okay? Save or except that he laid his hands upon a few sick folk and healed them, okay? Okay, he couldn't do the mighty works because they weren't having it. They weren't believing. Okay, he let it go. Matthew 16:1. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came and tempting desired him that he would show them a sign, a semeion from heaven. All right, these guys want to see something. This is not dunamis. This is, I want to see something. Okay, well, here we go. Right. And what does he say? Another reference. I like this because there's a lot in this one of that word. Matthew 16:4. A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a semeion. Okay. And there shall be no sign or semeion be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. And he left them and departed. Okay. Again, wicked, adulterous, people that are not hearing what he's saying. Okay. Those people they're not gonna see the signs, and he said, I'm not even going to give you a sign. You go back and you look at the Old Testament and you'll see that sign. You read it, and then when I rise from the dead in 3 days, maybe you'll put it together. And that's it. He let those people go. Okay? He's not forcing the son on anyone. Okay, back up here. Now let's keep going. And we're doing a lot better. I think this format might help me with time. Okay, 17 again. And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils. Okay, remember, these things are gifts, okay, of the Spirit. When someone has an evil spirit in them, okay, they are sick, right? This is a sickness, okay? And one of the gifts is the gift of healing, okay? It is a spiritual sickness, and it is probably worse than cancer, okay? Because this is the stuff that can mess with your salvation and your eternal soul, okay? You die of cancer, you believe in Christ, boom, your new body, you're going to be a lot better than someone that dies that had lived with an evil spirit their whole life. That's not good, okay? So again, is every Christian running around casting out devils? Nope. Nope, it's a gift, okay? Some people can do that and some cannot, nor should they try. But I will also add that when you're thinking about this, there are many different levels of this, okay? There's a whole spectrum of people with evil spirits. And you have on one end of the spectrum, you have, somebody that has negative thoughts, okay? Maybe it's somebody with the spirit of argument, okay? And I don't mean a good debater. That's great. That's not a spirit of argument. I'm talking about somebody with a negative spirit that all they can do is argue with you, okay, on any subject all the time, and it's negative, okay? Maybe that's one end of the spectrum, and the other end, you have the lunatic, okay, the boy that was possessed with that whole legion of demons that Christ cast out and cast into the swine. So there's another one of the miracles, okay? That's a whole different level of being, having evil spirits within you, okay? So there is a range and a spectrum. So people just don't freak out. And, everyone's not running around and needs poltergeist, okay? Nor is that necessarily how that's done. But there truly are people that have cast out demons out of people for real. And at this point, I will note that I haven't seen it, but I know that Pastor Murray has done this, and he's not a liar. And he has done this, and it's not good. It's not good. Okay, next sign here, next semeion, okay? They shall speak with new tongues, okay? Now, we just saw that one of the gifts up here was, different kinds of tongue. These are different kinds of languages, all right? These are gifts in order to get that message out to the world, and interpreting those things, these are other gifts. Not everybody can interpret something, okay? You can't get the message across if you speak another language and you say, in that language, you say something like, we love God is great. Okay. If you say, in English, God is great. Okay. That gets the emphasis and the point across. But if you're interpreting this stuff and somebody in another language says, God is great, that just doesn't get the message across. You need an interpreter to do that. Okay. So these new tongues, all right, you got a couple different levels. Sure. Yep. People using those languages to speak with these tongues. Yep. That's one of the signs. Okay. But there's kind of another level. Number 2, I would say, is those tongues that came out at Pentecost. Okay. And that happens. This is Mark 16. So this is just before that happened. Okay. And I will give another reference to, I believe, a deeper level on this right here. And Isaiah 54 reads, The Lord God hath given me the tongue of the learned, that I should know how to speak a word in season to him that is weary. He wakeneth morning by morning, he wakeneth mine ear to hear as the learned. Okay? This is a new tongue. People, again, all of us are born, we don't know this book, nobody knows this until you start to learn these things. Okay? But this is a sign. This is something you can see that, people have, and you can see this, okay? All right. 18, let's keep going. What else are they going to do? These signs are going to follow them, right? They shall take up serpents. Now, this is sad. Okay. I haven't seen it in person, but I've seen it, televised back in the 80s. I don't know. People were running around in churches whipping out serpents and throwing these things around at church. And then they would get, acting crazy, because of this verse. That's nuts. This is a whole spiritual message that he's speaking here, these signs. All right. No, we're not talking about taking up snakes. Okay. Here we go. Luke 10:19, the reference. All right. Behold, I give unto you power. Okay. And this is Luke 10. All right. That's an important chapter. That's where he sends out those 70 two by two. That's one of the miracles also. Okay. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Okay. Treading on serpents. Who are the serpents? Right. They're the children of the serpent. Okay. Include Satan and his children, the serpents. Okay. Next one here. And if they drink any deadly thing, so again, that they are the people he's sending out that believe, all right? And if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. Okay, can they drink bleach? Can they drink arsenic? Nope, that's not what we're talking about here. If you do, you're going to die, okay? Psalm 58, 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Okay, their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear. Okay, the deadly thing are lies. And once you have this language, once you learn this language, you're going to get pretty good discernment on who these serpents are and when they're lying to you. Okay, another sign. They shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. Okay, again, spiritually and physically. And again, I know people have done this, but I think we're going to see a very good dose of this once that next cluster of recorded miracles occurs at the tribulation. Okay, just like he sends out those 72 by 2. Well, go back and read that chapter 10 in Luke. Why did he send them out? He sent them out to prepare the way for him. That's why they were sent out over every city that he was going to come. And he sent them 2 by 2 of 70 divided by equals 35. Okay, so that means there were 35 groups that went to 35 cities, okay, where Christ would come to prepare the way. And he told them, hey, if people don't want to listen to you, just shake the dust off and keep going. Okay. All right, 19. So then after the Lord had spoken unto them, he was received up into heaven and sat on the right hand of God. All right. 20. And they went forth and preached everywhere, the Lord working with them and confirming the word with signs, that's semeion, visible signs that you could see following. And amen. And that's it. And I think we'll end it there. Those are the signs of the Spirit. Questions, thoughts, all that stuff.
I have one, Emil.
Yeah.
Beautiful format. This just it flowed perfect. It was surgical precision. Thank you so much. That was awesome.
All right.
Really,
if we like this so much, Pat, this is what I think I'll do from now on.
it's just my opinion, just for
Mhm.
for whatever it's worth. I think it's just, and regardless, it's just so appreciated, all the work that you put into this. It's awesome. Lisa's giving a thumbs up, so we got two votes for this
Well,
one.
okay, all right. So, well, the other beauty here is that this is going to be available forever. So,
Great.
again, if somebody just wants this, I will get Walter to put it on the website, I think, and we'll make it happen. And we'll figure out where these should go, and then have reference to them. And then you can do your own study. I have very few of my comments on here. Mine are really just the green stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of left my comments out pretty much in there. And then, all these side references or references, this was my intro, right? So again, so my words were kind of green. So you can ignore that if you want, and you can just, and you can just do a study. So that's why I'm color coding this. And, red is obviously a color that demands attention no matter what. And so that's why I have all the copy of the Bible in red, because that's the most important. Okay. And then,
Yeah.
then I'm using these as highlights here. Okay. Maybe I have some red over here for what we're referencing. So that's kind of the format that I've come to. And yeah, so right, this being able to put the strong stuff on here with it, I mean that's cool. And then
Yeah.
being able to
Super
see the
helpful.
references. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that Honey or Katie?
It was Katie.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Yes, so I think it is helpful because then, you can do your own study and look, hey, there's 120 of these. You want to do an entire study on, dunamis in the Greek. Well, now here's an outline and you can go find them,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Right.
It's great.
So again here, and then, this really, I mean, these are things that, when I'm doing this study, I'm trying to get these things across and I don't have time. Sometimes I just have to say it. I don't have time to go through and turn because it just takes too long.
Yeah.
All these references, and these are key. I mean, this is the hidden manna. What's that? Okay, yeah. This is the hidden manna in there, and some of these too, like this stuff. Okay, you'll notice a lot of these references on my side happen to come from the Book of John because boy, there's just some hidden manna in the Book of John. Okay, and when you start to tie it in with this other stuff, you'll find treasures in that book. So yeah. Anyway,
Great stuff. I did have a question, or maybe a reference. So, tracking on everything you're talking about, certain people have, certain gifts, maybe some gifts more than other, maybe the volume's turned up a little bit louder in some areas. The one thing that kind of came to mind on the casting out devils, I don't know where it is in the New Testament, where his apostles or disciples come to him and say, we couldn't get it done. And
yep.
The question I have is specifically, he references something to the effect of only by prayer and fasting does this come about.
You got it. I forgot to, as I was doing the spectrum talk, I meant to add that in there and say that the boy that was lunatic, that was the one, right? That I believe that's the right one. I might be mixing up miracles.
The right one.
Okay. I think that's right. Where that was the one who said, howbeit these go out, not only by prayer and fasting.
Yeah. Okay. So that is kind of like what my question is it looks as though it's kind of like, would you reference that to the similar concept of the talents, where you can actually reinforce or expand or strengthen the gifts that God gives you through, in that example, prayer and fasting?
Yes, I would say yes.
Pat,
absolutely.
Is that, are you tracking what I'm saying there? Like,
yep. That's, I mean, you can't, ask, seek, knock, right? He tells us, right? That's how you do this. So
yeah.
You know, if you're lacking, let's go to those for a second. Let's pull them
I'd
up.
love to. Yeah.
Let's pull up, right? What are these, the gifts here? Right? You're lacking wisdom. Okay. Well, you can certainly gain in that, but you're probably not going to just get it on your own. You know, you got to pray and ask, and you got to seek, you got to do the work. Okay. And then you're probably going to gain some knowledge, right? And God will open up some windows for you, some doors. Okay. That's why you're knocking on the door. Ask, seek, knock, right? He opens the door and you probably start to gain some of this stuff, you know? So yeah, I'm tracking you 100%. Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Okay, of course, yeah. Anyone else? Zoom.
Emil, I personally love the cursor. This is like doing Bible study with Madden.
I like it. I like it.
love
I
it.
like it too. I'm with you. I like it. I like the
circling
underline.
stuff, yeah, underline. I
Yeah.
love it.
It's
Okay.
very dynamic. I like
Yep.
it. It's like it brings it to life a little bit.
Okay.
And I think it's like the visual along with the way that you have it broke down and everything. It just not that when Brian's doing it, it doesn't make sense, like reading it word for word in the Bible and showing all the different spots where there's parallels or correlations.
Yep.
But for whatever reason, my brain tracks with this a little bit easier than those studies. So I appreciate all the work that you're putting into this. It's awesome.
One upper.
Yes, Eric. And so I'm about to ask Vlad. Is this tracking for you, Vlad?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Eric. It makes sense to me. I'm learning more just from doing this. Okay. Like seriously, I'm not just saying that. It seemed helpful. And I know Vlad wanted to see it in writing. And, you know, we talked about it at some point in time, probably 2 years ago, that it's just helpful for some people to see this in writing. So here we go. I'm going to try and do it. It probably depends on how much time, I have. But yeah, this one I did pull together in the last week because I didn't know what study I was going to do after we left that last one. So I did pull this together. It was helpful. I really didn't have to work. So I had a lot of time, but now I have to work again. So a lot of late nights. But yeah, I'm going to try and do this, and we'll start working on the next one, and it's going to be cool.
That's very much appreciated. I'm sure I'm not alone with that thought. So thank
Okay,
you.
No,
cool.
not at all. We all really appreciate it. It's just, or I should say, I can't speak for others, but I just second that. I really appreciate it, and I great utilization of the cyan color, Emil. I know you have a.
Yeah, that cyan is pretty much my favorite color. I don't know why. It maybe a little more green in the cyan I would like. So maybe I'll change it a little bit. Because
Yeah, I'm with you. I love cyan too. I've never
aqua. I mean, if I'm picking a color, I like the aqua cyan. It's somewhere in there. I mean,
it's just a delight. It's very refreshing.
Yep, I agree. I'm with you.
You'd like to balance.
Yeah, we echo that, having a hard copy to be able to reference back, tomorrow or the next day is really good.
Yes, and right, people. Yep.
Studies, excellent.
Okay, great. And I know people can't always listen, and some people will only see the written one, but maybe they'll see it and do a little more study, So, okay, good.
Yeah, and also it helped at the beginning that you made sure people, if they had access to bigger screens, could do so. I don't know how many are dialing in from phone, but I usually dial in from phone, and it's like I would have no shot.
Yeah,
if I was
I know. We have an awesome screen here. This is insane. So this is great, and I bet at Daniel's, at the Julian Daniel's new place, we're gonna have a pretty big screen. So that'll be great. So yeah, that'll be just everybody next time I do a study, everybody should just plan on screen share. Because the only other reason I did this is Brandon has been helpful. I mean, I was freaking out last week. I didn't even know if we were going to get the screen share going. So again, Brandon, part of the body here, he's very helpful in making this work. We had this whole computer shut down about 20 minutes before the study today, and I almost lost it. I'm calling calling Julie in London, wherever she is. I'm calling Janelle. She's sleeping. I'm freaking out on Brian, and he's not answering. Brandon got it. Brandon got it fixed.
Way to go, Brando.
No, I
Thank you
just,
much.
yeah, since it went so well last week, I thought we could try this, and I could make my promise good to Vlad, and now we're gonna call it good, and we'll move on to something else. But I'm gonna try this written format.
Hey, is that Born Identity wearing the cyan shirt back there?
Born Identity.
Yep,
man.
it
Is
is.
that? Oh,
It is. He
nice.
just, yep,
Even.
Charlie.
slide it in there.
It does look more cyan on the screen than ever.
Yep,
That's a nice cyan.
yep, yeah. I love the cyan, the CMYK, the cyan, the magenta, yellow, and the black, and that's actually almost what's on the screen here. So.
Magenta, man, magenta lasts for like 2 print jobs and you got to replace it. It's like that one is always out.
It's always going, man. It's in a lot of stuff. It's in the reds. It's in the black. I mean, I used to do this stuff for a living, so I know.
I was just going to ask how you knew so much about it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I graphic designer by trade.
Okay.
You know, many moons ago. So did a lot of printing for 10 years. You know, so that's why I know about that. But yeah, I haven't been doing that for a long time, like 15 years since I've done any kind of design work now. I kind of stepped back from that and started swinging the hammer.
He buried that talent that is getting resurrected.
Yeah, well, and that is funny because I was thinking, you know, as I put this here, I'm like, wow, I never thought I would use this again, but
You can tell it's like
it's
yeah, it's
Yep.
very well.
trying to make it clear. I mean, communication is the key, and I'm trying to communicate.
It's taking me 18 times as long to get it. It's like,
Yeah.
I
right.
think Roger has something.
Oh, Raj, yeah.
No, I just,
Can you guys hear Roger?
it was a wonderful study. I
Yep.
like the format. It's great.
Okay.
So since you're kind of in that 1 Corinthians 12 there.
Yes. Yes.
You know, maybe, and you kind of commented, it's kind of the title of your study, you know, and when you look, you know, and all those gifts, they're by the Spirit, they're from the, you know, having the Spirit within, okay? But comment even about verse 3 there, that last part of verse 3.
Okay.
Because, you know, remember Romans, God says, everyone I chose, I called. And that kind of ties in with the last part of that verse 3,
Mhm.
you know? And so, you know, none of us, we don't do it on our own, you know? We have to understand and thank Him. We didn't do it on our own, you know? Like you're saying that faith is a gift. So whatever you can say about that last phrase, it's important, you know, that we understand it's the Holy Spirit that reveals that to us, that, you know.
Yep. And I think, you know, the moment, you know, I think it's kind of like conception. Okay. The moment a person believes, and I'm talking about like instant, like a true belief, I think the instant that individual believes that Christ is the Son of God and all this stuff is real, I think that Spirit begins to dwell with you. And again, it's in measure, okay? Christ had full range, no limits. I kind of think of it as volume too. I know the word is metron, and it means like meter or limited measure in Greek. But I think of it as volume. And if Christ had 100 ounces, you know, maybe somebody's got an ounce of faith, okay? And you can work with that and you can start to build. But I think at that moment, I mean, I'm talking technically kind of now. I think that's pretty fair way to say how this might be working. And, you know, again, it's my guessing, but I think it's that, and just like conception, you know, this is happening like that. I think in your mind, it's like, you know, I think, you know, you hear the word, like, you know what, I think this is true. I believe in this, and boom, you know, and that's why who's believed, baptized, and then here, where was that? I'll bring something up about that in a second. So he believeth Mark 16, right? 16, he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. So just quick comment on this. It's kind of going a little far from what Roger's saying, but something to look at in Acts. Okay, after Stephen is stoned, I think it's chapter 8. Okay, there is this guy, Simon. And I wanted to get into this, but it was just getting too far from subject. Okay. This guy named Simon, and he saw the miracles that were being done. And it says that this guy, Simon, he was a sorcerer, I think, some kind of wizard, magician, sorcerer, something like that. Okay. But he believed and he was baptized. Okay. Then he sees Peter, I think it is, the disciples, performing these miracles. And he goes, "Hey, I want to buy some of that. Can I buy this stuff?" Peter has a freak out on him. Okay. And he's like, "Hey, you better repent, okay, for what you did." Peter didn't say, "You're done, go to hell now." Okay. So it says this guy was believed and baptized, but this guy had a long way to go. And if you read what Peter says, he's got a long way to go. But again, there's something to it, I think, in that moment. So anyway, yeah, thank you, Rod.
Yeah, I'll just say one other thing. I think in too many churches, once someone says, "Hey, I want to be saved, I want to be a Christian," they're baptized, they think the job is done, and just kind of like you were talking about that verse 3, that's just the beginning.
Yes. Yes.
That's just the beginning. And when you get down to, let's say in verse 8, where it talks about wisdom and knowledge, and that's by the Spirit too, but that takes effort and experience. You have to work.
Yes.
Yep. And I think that's why most everyone's here. We want to increase the knowledge.
Of course. Yeah.
So on that, Roger, a couple of things. There's I think it's in the book of James, where it talks just on the a double-minded man will receive everything, not receive anything from the Lord. But there's a section that talks about they ask amiss so that they might consume it upon their lusts. And I just think about that just in terms of growing and enhancing this actual getting closer to God. How often, and I'm guilty of this myself, am I really praying with the right intention for God's will to come about? And I don't know, that just kind of reminded me of that Simon example. And the other thing that you were talking about with just getting the Holy Spirit and that seed being planted inside of someone, it just, I don't know why I always go in Hebrews 8:10, "For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest." That actual putting the laws into the mind, is that kind of run parallel to what you're talking about there, Emil, or is that a different subject in your understanding?
Yeah, parallel to what I'm talking about. What's your reference again?
It's Hebrews chapter.
No, I've got that reference, but parallel to
what Roger was referring to, I think, was that you have there's a supernatural action that's taking place within you.
Oh, okay, I got you.
That is you're given this gift, whether it's the gift of faith or what. There's a supernatural action that's occurring that it's not you doing it.
Got you. There is God is supernatural, He's telling us that these are spiritual gifts. It's his spirit, one spirit, but it gives all these gifts, and you can work with them and you can increase. And what you just referenced there in Hebrews, that is absolutely, I mean, that's we're working towards that. And ultimately, this reference is going to be fulfilled 100% in, well, at the end of the millennium, most likely. But a lot of people will get that at the beginning. But, well, a lot will probably be towards the end. But it'll be, in that millennium that this stuff fully comes to pass, and you're not going to have the hangups of the flesh. It's just, you're going to, again, when we're there in that time, this flesh is almost going to seem so silly compared to the brain power that all of us are going to have. It's going to be pretty cool. Our minds will be open to a lot, and we're going to understand this word in a way that, we never could quite fully understand it, in the flesh. But yes, we're working towards that. And he's writing it in our minds, especially, just us in the group, for example, it's happening. I didn't, me and my brother, I could probably speak for him, but, we didn't start out planning on doing this. This just kind of occurred. And, we got interested, 30 years ago, I think it was now, but we stuck with it. We're like, there's really something to this, but had we given up and just went some other way, we wouldn't be here, and so we worked at it. Clearly God, is opening, our eyes to understanding, because you can't know this. People don't know this stuff.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Unless you're working on it. So it's a marriage. I mean, that's the whole, right?
So I just wanted to find this in James because I couldn't locate it and it was driving me crazy. And just in case anybody's interested, so Roger, just what you said about like going to church and being saved and they think that's all they have to do or whatever, not casting judgment on anyone because I'm guilty. Like my fleshly mind wants to eat ice cream and not get fat. That's what I want. Like I want a free ride. I want it just like, I want it spoon fed. I don't have to work to it. But in James 4, starting in verse 1, from whence comes wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence, even of your lust that war in your members? This is along the subject that we're going to be talking about, Emil.
Yep.
Ye lust and have not, ye kill and desire to have and cannot obtain. Ye fight and war, yet ye have not, because ye ask not. Ye ask and receive not, because ye ask amiss, that ye may consume it upon your lusts. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. And in order, like, there's just like, to your point, there's just something that happens to address that love of the world that just happens through the actual just study and ingesting of the word.
That it happens. Well, I'm sorry.
That it just like the more I study the word, the more it becomes revealed to me the difference between the lust of the love of the world and the actual genuine desire to serve God.
Yes. Yep. And and what you just read here, you can see people wanting some of this stuff for wrong reasons. There's all kinds of stuff in there. I will go over it. Like you mentioned, so just if anybody's wondering, so Pat is next on tap for a study. So we're going to look at, Pat had a subject, so that'll be next. So if anybody, now I can't get flooded, but there's a queue going, okay, and Pat's up next in the queue, so I'm going to work on a study that Pat, has brought up. And then if other people have things that they really want to like see a whole study, done like this, so we'll start, even if I get 1,000, we'll just start picking away at it, I think I got one for Brett coming after that. There might be one or two others. So yeah, that's kind of my plan is to try and get some studies out for where people want to know more, about a certain subject.
And that's just also, again, like that's just the beauty of the group. And like he said, like Vlad raising this to you 2 years ago, and
Mhm.
it's awesome. I just feel so blessed to be a part of this group with you guys. It's just fantastic because look where that curiosity leads to.
I know.
It's just amazing.
Yep. This is how it all works together. I mean, we're living these examples literally. It's crazy, and it's pretty cool. So yeah.
So
Yep.
Pat, what you read in James, it's really the intention, right? That's the intention. That's what they're asking for, I forget where it is exactly, but in the Minor Prophets, God makes a reference to those that serve him and those that serve him not. And when I read that, I always think those that serve him and those that serve themselves. That's kind of the same thing, So what's the intention, if you're asking for something just for your own pleasure or whatever, the thing is, if you do try to serve him, it works out better for you anyway.
Yes, very well said. Yeah. That's the whole rabbit hole you can go down, right? Which is because it's like the other way to go, the way of selfishness, and how that's connected to Satan and his spirit, and how he's the father of lies, and how what it promises to deliver, it never delivers, and God's way always has a better return on investment. It's just that we're in the flesh and susceptible to that. Like, I don't know, like I don't know if anyone else ever struggles with it, but it happens where, you have an impulse or you get afraid and you lean on something other than God and it doesn't deliver.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see it.
I was
Sorry,
going to
Pat.
say it. Oh,
Go, Connie. You're good.
Sorry.
I was going to say, if just people that have Christ in their heart, the things that they ask for seem to always be for helping people or helping other people. It's not asking for new cars and vacation homes and diamond rings. It's always, resources, and the resources are for a reason to help people, help their situation and help their soul and help them find the truth and to share what you have with them.
He says, he knows what we need. So he goes, seek the kingdom first, and all these things will be added unto you.
Mhm.
Okay. It's very important. And that's what you guys are talking about.
Yeah. And it's really hard in today's world too, with trust being such an issue. So
very hard.
Trust is really a huge issue in our society. And because who can we trust who's right in front of us? Really, we can't even trust our own selves looking in the mirror. But to think that we can trust God to provide for us is, that can be a real challenge. So.
Yep. We're all working through this chaos of this place. And, that reminds me of course, cursed be the man that trusts in man, so, that's why we double and triple check all our stuff. Like when we're doing a study, even, we don't want anyone to, rely on our words. We want, people to get into this themselves and take this stuff out and so that they have it in their mind, even that as opposed, I know that's off of what you were saying, Connie, but that's just an example.
Yeah. And one of my recent things is that I've been talking about a lot is to be led by the Holy Spirit. Because, some things are challenging to answer a question one way or the other. And I'm always, on the fence. Like, I don't want to answer a lot of questions because I'm like, well, it depends on the situation. If you just let the Holy Spirit lead you, then you can discern which way to go. Like, it seems like people want solid answers one way or the other, and it's just life just isn't that way. So that might not seem to tag on to what you're talking about, but it kind of does. So
Yep. Yep.
I think it totally does.
I think Satan likes to box us in too, get us to commit to something, and I feel like we need to stay open to the Holy Spirit all the time to lead us wherever he takes us. Just all like what you're talking about with how this whole group came about. So I just want to say I do give you an A+ on the screen sharing. And when you was Madden, was that a football reference and the graphics that they do? That kind of
John
won me
Madden
over.
used to
Okay, I'm
draw
like,
all over.
okay, I get it.
Yep, he used to draw all over the screen all the time.
Yeah, and the fast pace and everything. I totally have a different viewpoint on it now. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can slow down a little bit. I didn't know how much it was going to take. I'll probably slow down a little bit and chop a little bit more out of the next one and keep it shorter and spend a little more time, if that makes sense. I'm learning too. That's what I'm saying is I'm learning. This is new to me. Okay. This is new to me, and I want it to work well so that that's helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, I thought it was really helpful, really easy to see.